How did you learn to snowboard? How did you learn to snowboard?
What was the question?
It's how did you learn to snowboard?
I lived 10 minutes down from a tiny little hill, and yeah, like no vertical feet pretty much, and just kind of would go every day after school. My sister taught me, got absolutely hooked, and yeah, just have been doing it ever since.
So I learned to snowboard by just going up with a buddy and figuring it out. I never took a lesson. You know, I got a couple pointers from a friend. Luckily, I was really young. I was about 10 years old when I started, and I just took the falls as they came, tried to learn from my mistakes, and just figured out what felt right. And in the long run, that's kind of led to getting me where I'm at now.
What mountain was it where you started?
I started snowboarding at Cataloochee in North Carolina.
How did you learn to snowboard?
I watched one TV show on Nickelodeon called Gas, Games and Sports. And I told my parents before the first time I went snowboarding, I said, I could do that. And they're like, yeah, sure, whatever. And then, yeah, they took me and it came super naturally.
So I'm from Virginia originally, and I moved to New York after the military. And my first winter was super long. I didn't do anything, and I had a friend that was like, dude, you got to do a winter sport. So I was like, all right, I'll pick a snowboard back up. I did it when I was real young, and it was game over after that.
I learned to snowboard by falling a lot, and I still do that, but that's okay, because if you're not falling, you're not progressing, you're not learning, so you got to embrace the falls like they're your best friend.
How did you learn to snowboard?
My dad taught me. Yeah, I just went up to the hill with him every week and
Sick.
practice.
What's your local hill?
I ride Boreal Mountain at Tahoe.
How did you learn to snowboard?
I don't know if you guys have ever heard Tommy Bennett before, but I was riding around myself at Keystone, wanting to get more into the competitive scene of snowboarding, and Tommy happened to just fly right by me. And I knew who he was, so I flagged him down, like, hey, like, what is your opinion on coaching some amateurs and trying to get me into the competition scene? He's like, let's do it. So started riding with him, and I, at the time, couldn't even hit a box, and now I can hit a bunch of like really big jumps and big features in about like 2 seasons. So, hell of a guy.
How did you learn to snowboard?
So my brother started snowboarding. Hey! Dude, good to see you. I saw you earlier. I tried to wave, it got awkward. You didn't wave back.
You here all week?
Yeah, I'm here for the next month.
Sick, dude.
Yeah, man. Good to see you, dude. What was the question?
It's how did you learn to snowboard?
How did I learn to snowboard? So my brother started snowboarding, and I wanted to be like my brother. And so my dad bought me like a 121 chopper. And the funniest thing is, he went to go on the chairlift with my brother to go snowboard, and he said, take a snowboard, hike up, figure it out. So then I was so hyped because I walked up by myself and I looked at my dad on the chairlift with my brother. They'd wave at me. I figured out how to strap in on my own, and I was like 8 years old. I was 7 or 8 years old. So I learned how to strap in on my own. I learned how to stand up, and I learned how to side slip. And then at one point I learned how to go right and left, and I thought I was a snowboarder. Granted, I was just doing a falling leaf the whole time, but I thought I was snowboarding because I could turn, and it wasn't a turn.
How did you learn to snowboard?
So it's really cool actually. I grew up in a small town in Vernal, Utah. It's kind of in the high Uintas. We're not really close to any resorts, and one of my buddies had one, and he's really into snowmobiling, and he would just take me up the hill and let me like send my carcass down it, and then we would set up picnic tables and stuff to try to like jib and emulate what we saw in the movies at the local golf course until they would kick us out. And then when I was 16, I finally got a driver's license and bought like a proper board setup and a season pass, and we would, me and my friends would carpool to Park City in my friend's van, and we ripped all the seats out of his van, and we'd stay the night in the Park City parking lot pre-Vail days, and we'd night ride Friday night and then ride all day Saturday and then drive back home. It's 2.5 hours. And so yeah, that's how I got into it. The first day that I decided snowboarding was like what I wanted to do full time. Is my brother took me up to Brighton on like Christmas vacation weekend, and we got snowed in overnight, and it was the craziest thing ever, and then I was just hooked.